Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910, sponsored by Pacific Trade Exchange, your best in trade. This is the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. For those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar having drinks, without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. Mark Hanf is off this week. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. The vacations are sponsored by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. The vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. You can reach them at 916-777-5511. And today's trivia theme is famous number 23s or 24s in sports. You'll get it when I get to the questions. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Don't forget to record our show on a website called dar.fm. Quick reminder, World Wraps in Corte Madera and Santa Clara is still giving our listeners a free smoothie with purchase of a wrapper bowl. If you mention the Best of Investing, go there for lunch today, best wraps in town. And don't forget to mention the Best of Investing for your free smoothie. Now today's guest is a special friend of mine, David Vogelstein, who's an attorney. And I know best friend and attorney don't usually go together, but he's a good guy. And he's going to share with us white-collar crimes. Now, let me give you a little background on David here. He is a criminal defense lawyer, has been for 36 years, handling over 10,000 cases, hopefully not for the same criminal, including fraud, embezzlement, drugs, violence, attempted murder, sex cases, holy smokes. And he's represented every type of person from CEOs, which I can see would be embezzlement, drugs, and all that fun stuff, of Fortune 100 companies to homeless, etc. And let's see what else here. Now this I think is really kind of cool. He's had 17 county mock trial championships in a row, 2 state championships out of 450 teams, and 1 national mock trial championship out of thousands of high schools across the country. David, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Thank you very much, Edward. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, what kind of awesome tidbits do you have for us regarding white-collar crime?
Well, as we know, after the Bernie Madoff and other financial scam fiascos hit the press and hit the courts, the federal and state governments across the nation have amped up their prosecution of financial crimes. Major financial crimes involving securities and unregistered securities, and relatively minor financial crimes like misrepresenting your income or expenses on federal or state loan or bank applications. So for instance, if your business was earning $1 million a year for the past 5 years, but in the last year only earned $500,000, and you're applying for a loan, and you need to stick on that $1 million figure, and you put that down on a loan application and swear under penalty of perjury that that's your income when you know in fact that this year you only made $500,000, that's a federal crime and that's a state crime, and they're looking at that closely.
Well, now they get, I think it's a 4506 is what the bank usually asks the applicant to sign. Is that the one, 4506?
Yeah.
It's where they actually say, you promise that this is actually what you reported on your tax return.
Correct. However, there are multiple instances of people claiming that their tax returns aren't available, their tax returns have been burnt in a fire, they don't have them available, and they're planning to do that, and they're misrepresenting their income out of desperation to get that loan. And my advice is, don't do it, especially now, because the price of prosecution is way too high.
And in any loan that I'm familiar with, the banks will go to the IRS and say, let me see a transcript which has
That's
every
that
line.
form, that 4506, where you actually get, you give permission.
And they do it and they check, and I just had a deal now where the woman filed and she had to have an amended tax return. The CPA didn't do it correctly.
Sure.
And we're still waiting for the transcript for the amended file, but they won't close the loan until they get it. And So,
Well, see,
but there
yeah.
probably are some commercial loans or maybe hard money loans like Mark might do. I don't know where they don't check that, but,
Well, see, that'd be interesting. You could actually file a tax return and then go for your loan,
Yes.
and then go back and file an amended return, because you have 3 years to do that.
Yes.
What are you supposed to do at that point? Go back to the lender and say, oh, by the way, 2 years ago I took out this loan, here's my amended return?
You'd
Probably
be
not.
better off doing it that way, because with this file that I have with the amended return, they said, huge red flag, amended return, why do you have it? You have to explain it, we have to see it and everything.
And the worst case scenario is that you're being summoned before a federal grand jury as the target of an investigation. You don't want to have to pay me, you don't want to have to pay $100,000 to deal with a huge financial mess. You don't want to have to deal with the ruination of your business and your reputation just because you were a little bit greedy on your loan application.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people now, if they said, oh, well, I'm gonna rent this house out, but I wanna say I'm living there. And I said,
Oh, yeah.
well, if you do that, not only won't you be living there, you'll be living in jail, because they will find you, and it's not worth it trying to get a 0.25% better
Now,
interest
what are
rate
they,
on
are
a
they,
loan.
like, they're going in your mailbox, which is illegal, and finding out that your PG&E bills are not there? No, I mean,
Well,
how
no,
do
but
check?
if they
They'll
question,
send
if they
you.
have reason to not believe you, they put a stipulation in the loan that they have the right within the first 60 days to come into the property unannounced and see if you're living there, see if it looks like you're living there, see if the utility bills are in your name, and if any of those are unsatisfactory, they can call the loan and report you to the district
Yeah, 60
attorney.
days is not enough, they really need to get.
And
60 days.
unfortunately, when you throw out your garbage and throw out your bills, you have abandoned your property. The Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to abandoned property, and they can go through your garbage.
So when I see the homeless guy looking through my garbage, he really probably works for the bank.
Well, he
Yeah.
could work for the federal government.
Or
too.
for the federal government, all right.
You may be working off a sentence too.
Yeah, that's true. You know, to me, identity theft is that and hacking into your computer for other things, just stealing information. That's the thing that just gets my craw.
Well, many people arrested for identity theft have serious drug problems. Identity theft and methamphetamine use has been linked. It was linked recently in a Wall Street Journal article. About 75% of those people arrested for the relatively smaller identity theft crimes, where they're going into your garbage and they're spending days reconstructing a check program which they can get with your name and somebody else's driver's license ID and somebody else's bank account number, and then going to the banks and cashing checks around a 5-county area.
Yeah, this
It
is
happens.
amazing. You know, you think with all that intelligence, basically, I mean, you gotta be pretty sneaky to do that. Use it for good.
Well, but that's the problem with the criminal mind. The criminal mind doesn't get that far.
Yeah.
You know, especially when there's drugs involved, and these are people who have trouble functioning in society.
Sure.
And the courts have had their fill of these people, and many of them are going to prison for long term.
Well, they should, because it's amazing how devastating that can be to people when you steal their identity. I mean, I had my identity stolen a few years ago, and actually I was fortunate because we caught it early enough, and I was not really as inconvenienced as I'd heard these horror stories. But the way we figured out that mine probably got stolen is because the attorney who shared office space with me, his wife happened to go into the same store within a 2-week period, and her identity got stolen too. We think what happened was these professionals, actually the person at the counter takes your information and then they sell it for like $50.
Well, embezzlement and identity theft have one thing in common, and that is the inability of the suspect, the perpetrator, to care about the effects of his or her conduct on the victim. And I have done cases where the victims have actually committed suicide because their business has been destroyed, and it's a small mom and pop
Hey, I was
business.
just thinking the same thing with
And
embezzlement, yeah.
sometimes the people don't care, and the psychologists, the forensic psychologists are saying now that many people who commit embezzlement crimes, if it's not due to drugs, they are actually on the same tree, not the same branch, but the same tree as serial killers. This
yeah.
lack of empathy and lack of emotion in terms of their conduct.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you an example. I showed a client many years ago a list of checks with photographs of all the checks that he allegedly had written on somebody else's account, effectively destroying that person's business. And what did he say? He pointed to one check and said, "I didn't write that check." So his focus was on the one check out of hundreds that he didn't write.
Amazing.
Not the acknowledgement that, you know, I did that, help me, get me some help, get me some mitigation, you know, and that kind of, it tells us what the minds of these people were like.
And they're always sorry that they got caught.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. We're in the studio here with David Vogelstein, an attorney who has a lot of specialties, but we're talking white-collar crime today. And here is our first trivia question, and again, the theme is famous number 23s or 24s, and it's too bad that Brian's not here because he's always asking for a NASCAR question, and here we go. He's going to have to just listen to the show and find this one out. Okay, this famous NASCAR driver wears number 24. Who is he? The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. This famous NASCAR driver wears number 24. Who is he? 888-912-1190. Make sure you include your name and your email address, and make sure that you speak slowly and spell out your email address one letter at a time, please. And we will be right back. Good. So far, so good. Me likey. Having fun?
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Good. I told you it'd be fun.
Hey, you don't want to unleash my talking on the
Oh, it totally
unsuspecting
does.
world.
Every week I put a. I don't get it either. Someone just stuck this on my leg. What happened was I was wearing pants for the first so many months because it was cold out. Now I wear but I get hot, so I pull up my pant leg. Well, he decided to focus in on my leg. So I started putting little funny stickers on my leg. You got it?
And now he has no hair.
Now I have no hair on it.
There you go.
Okay, we have a lot of fun. We goof around. We have a lot of fun. You know, I was thinking. I don't know if I was going to mention on the air or just we could do it now. There was a people's court situation where someone had this A sued B because a check was written supposedly to A from his grandmother, and it got into B's hand, and this was like Mr. John Smith, and this was like John D. Smith. They just happened to have the same name, and they lived within like 10 miles of each other, and there was even a card that says, hello grandson, here's the $1,000 I promised you for your birthday, blah blah blah, right? And this guy's defense was, well, my name's John Smith. Well, do you have a grandmother so-and-so? No.
Actually, that's a crime.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah, because he knew it wasn't
Yeah.
him.
Can't do that.
It's amazing, isn't it? Some of the guys are so smart, and they just would rather do it this way.
I know.
Even
I
if they could
see
do it this way.
people,
I saw with
when
some
faced
realtors.
with the truth or a lie, they will lie even if the truth helps them more. What is up with that?
Yeah, I couldn't be a good liar because I couldn't remember which one.
I'm
I
not
told.
sitting-
Besides,
I'm
your
not
wife would
sophisticated
kill
enough.
you.
I'm not
Yeah, that's
sitting
true.
here with you now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to me, it's part of a dysfunctional upbringing.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it stems from childhood stuff
Yeah.
because it's really endemic. It's really embedded in the brain.
Yeah.
That process.
Good thing that didn't go off during the show.
You're right. So we're canceling it.
I heard about this ring. They were in a mall, and the idea was they invented an ATM machine that basically all they did was stick in like $200 worth. But the idea was you'd stick your ATM in, and it would basically steal your PIN and everything, right? And from that, they would start sucking out everybody.
That's a cool.
Isn't it a cool one? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, gosh, you're that smart. There's got to be something good that you can do. No.
Well, sometimes the trick for the criminal defense attorney is once these people get caught, is to help them turn their life around.
Well,
Because very often, that's where the play in the case is. It's not in the facts of the case. They're not gonna go to prison the first time around, if it's kind of a theft-related crime.
So you mean someone was so smart, the fact that they got caught was their request for help?
No,
But
they
they use
usually, they think they're smarter than everybody else and they're not.
Yes, yes.
But it gives, you, as a criminal lawyer, you have the sword of Damocles hanging over your client. You could threaten them, you could manipulate the shit out of them and say, you wanna be Bubba's girlfriend?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I know some of these guys, it's like,
Well,
hey,
we're
you're
not
too
on the
good
air,
looking.
are we?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
being recorded. You just have to bleep that out. The one time I have someone swear.
Ed would have to tell me that. Oh, yeah, bleep out that.
Yeah, bleep.
Why do you have to bleep that?
Because the FCC, well,
I
the
don't.
FCC on here, but I guess the
What,
FCC.
what do
is
they have to
different.
bleep out, girlfriend?
I probably
Yeah,
don't.
that's right. All right, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in fact, didn't they hire, like the FBI, and they'll hire these hackers to teach them how they hack in to help prevent. future-
Only the top guys, only the top guys.
Okay, well,
There you go.
that's not as important as hearing that, so
Okay.
that's, I'm
You
not
can
sure.
hear me.
Yeah.
So that's because I don't get feedback.
I'm not sure why, but, yeah, as long as we can hear
Okay.
you here. Okay, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll continue on with a couple more fun stories.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, okay.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the collateral consequences.
Are we on now?
No, we're not on yet.
We're not on.
We're not on yet.
It's gotta do that.
Okay,
Four,
but
three,
that-
two,
okay.
one.
Okay,
It's
but,
gonna
but that's
lead
good.
you in.
Okay, so let me go back to the question here and see if you guys know it. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my co-host, Robert Schiff. And when we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. This famous NASCAR driver wears number 24. Who is he? I'm gonna have to call Brian, huh? Come on.
You have any idea?
Dale Earnhardt.
Nope.
Yeah, I would say somebody who's probably no longer racing.
No. he's racing.
AJ?
No. Jeff Gordon. I know you've heard of him. David,
Yes.
continue on. You had some great stories for us.
I wanted to talk a little bit about insurance stings. Insurance companies are now working in conjunction with state district attorney's office to create these elaborate stings to snare businesses that are likely to engage in unethical or illegal
Like
conduct.
setting their own building on fire.
No,
okay.
actually, it's much more subtle than that.
Jack London.
The insurance lobby is strong. They've passed a lot of really strict criminal legislations against insurance fraud. And what they're doing now is they're working in conjunction with local law enforcement, creating a fictitious police report, creating a vehicle that has fake damage or no damage on it, going to auto body repair shops and saying, listen, here's a police report. It's not really true, but I'd like you to file or help me file an insurance claim for the damage to the car, but it wasn't really caused by this incident.
Wait, so they're trying to nail the auto body shops? in that
Right.
case?
Now-
So they can create the entire scenario and engage someone to, with their coercion, do something
Right.
that's
Isn't
illegal.
that entrapment? I mean,
No,
that's-
entrapment this is not entrapment. This is taking a legitimate business and actually creating a crime from start to finish. And very often what happens is the normally law-abiding citizen, and especially in an economic downturn, gets a
Yeah.
little desperate and says, okay,
okay.
now
So
to add...
what is entrapment other than that? They're creating this scenario and pleading with some legitimate business to say, okay, I really don't like to do it, but okay, you've been on me 15 times, I don't want to hear you again.
Entrapment under the law is defined by overbearing the free will of the person. So if a law enforcement officer comes up to you and says, unless you do this deal, you'll never see your children again, that's entrapment.
that sounds like a lot worse than that. That's like extortion.
Right. But that's what
So when
entrapment
the
is
guy
on
says,
a co-op.
when the guy says, "I'd love to buy your house, I know it's not for sale, but you have a beautiful daughter."
Right, that's entrapment. There you go. And
You guys are scaring me.
And what makes matters worse is that the insurance fraud laws are so general that it ensnares even the most ambiguous of acts. For instance, under the under the penal code as it relates to insurance fraud, if you allow, keyword, allow a document to be used for a false claim, you're guilty of a felony. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that if somebody hands you a document and then they take it back because you handed it back to them, have you allowed it? Well, technically, yes.
That's nasty.
So in terms of filing false claims, reporting insurance claims, insurance companies are working hand in hand with the district attorney's office to prosecute these claims, and the DA's office gets money for this.
Oh my God.
Insurance companies help fund these investigations, so they're less likely to work out a mitigated plea bargain.
Wait, I can imagine having someone on their side a videotape, right? And they don't start the videotape until the good person, theoretically, hands back the piece of paper, right?
You're actually
Right.
talking about one of my cases where the audio recording wasn't made till halfway through the conversation.
Sounds like a Rodney King type thing.
And that does happen. And, the truth is, through aggressive litigation, sometimes the truth comes out, but sometimes it doesn't, and innocent people get hurt. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what happens when you get hurt. The collateral consequences of a conviction, even for a misdemeanor in today's transparent society, is horrible. For our children, for instance, a crime of moral turpitude like a petty theft crime, and our kids are doing this stuff, we all have kids, they all make mistakes. That kind of crime on your record, prospective employers,
Oh, sure.
colleges, loan officers will all find out about that conviction.
Just being accused. I mean, if it gets in the paper, I've said this on the air before. I kind of tease my bankers because they know, fortunately, that I'm teasing them. But I'll look at the loan application and I'll fill it out in front of them and I'll say, "Oh, you ever filed bankruptcy?" No. Have you ever visited some foreign weird country? No. And then, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And I tease them. I kind of pause a little bit. I go, "Convicted? No, I was never convicted." Unfortunately, they run with me on that. But just being accused of stuff.
Right, and one of the things that most people don't know is that if you get arrested for a crime and no charges are filed, or the case gets dismissed, that arrest is deemed under the law not an arrest but a detention only. That's important if you are applying for high security jobs where they in fact will ask you or look at whether you've been arrested. By law, that is considered a detention, and you can actually get from the police department involved in that detention a certificate saying this is not an arrest.
But they will find the detention just by.
We live in a very transparent world. They can find everything. There are companies dedicated to finding these things out.
Yeah.
They can go to the local county courthouse. Many courthouses across the nation have all of their information online, so you can sit at your computer and find this out.
Well, here's the scary thing on that is that the average person would look at that and say, well, yeah, maybe that time they didn't get caught. But it's sort of like, in a sense, kind of like when people look at the deaths, not everybody, when some people look at the death penalty, right? And they say, okay, well, that person, ooh, scary, shouldn't be put to death. A lot of people look at it and go, yeah, he didn't get caught maybe for that crime, but he probably did a million other ones that he probably should be put to death for. But like in this case, for a detention situation, the average person might go, yeah, but why were you even detained?
Right. And that's a problem, because our vehicles for expungement have not caught up with the technology that makes all this information so transparent. So a small misdemeanor conviction for our child can result in the denial of employment, can result in the denial of loans or grants, can significantly impact their life.
Okay, so when I didn't share my graham cracker in kindergarten, and and I had to get sent to the principal's office. Is that on my record?
If it's a felony.
I don't know, someday.
So I wanted to close out with what happens when, God forbid, you need to hire a criminal defense lawyer. Most people don't know what to do. Most people have had no contact with that world, a world that, you know, those of us who live in are familiar with and everybody else is not.
Okay, I'm guessing the first thing that the average person would do would be to call whatever attorney they usually deal with. You know, it could be a business law, right? Isn't that,
And the one thing that they should not do is hire the law firm that represents them civilly. They should get a referral, because routinely I get cases from law firms who say, David, we just screwed up this case, help us out. You need to hire the experts in the field, whether it's a small-time criminal firm, a solo practitioner, anyone. You need to hire the experts. And the way you find those experts is by word of mouth, by Googling them, by looking at the State Bar website, which will reveal any disciplinary actions, and by meeting with more than one and going with your instinct who do you feel most comfortable.
Well, I think I
So,
could.
so people would go to the normal attorney and say, can you refer me to a defense attorney?
Right, because the inclination of a large firm with a big-time civil client who's giving them $500,000 to $1 million worth of fees every year is to keep control, to make them happy. And unless they have a criminal litigation department that specializes in that exact kind of case, a DUI, a drug case, they're not going to do as good a job as the experts.
Well, I think I'd do a process of elimination. I'd go to the prisons, go, who was your attorney? I don't want to hire him. Who was your attorney? I don't want to hire him.
Well, you know, we all lose cases.
No, not David Vogelstein. Okay,
A
David,
few.
how do people get a hold of you if, God forbid, they're in this situation where they need a criminal attorney?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm in the same building as you. So you can reach me at 415-459-2000. That's the best way to reach me.
All righty, we're going to cut to our stay in the studio, David. We're having a lot of fun here. Okay, here's our second trivia question, and this is famous number 23s or 24s in sports. Now, we all know Michael Jordan wore number 23, but what other number did he wear for a season? The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. We all know Michael Jordan wore number 23, but what other number did he wear for a season? Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, and remember to speak slowly and spell out each letter of your email for us. And we will be right back. Excellent.
Good show.
So
That makes
there
good
was or is an attorney in your office. Her name was Barbara. I can't remember. It was years ago.
I can't remember. Is that an Italian name? It's not a Jewish name. I know that.
There's no Jew named
I
Barbara,
hired
except for-
an attorney for my divorce, and it was 459-2000.
Yeah, that's
it's all
upstairs. I think that was
upstairs.
before I was there, though. I've only been there 5
No,
years.
this was.
Why would anyone divorce you? Come on. You're a sweetheart of a guy.
Because we were married.
Yeah, exactly. That's the number one cause of
How long
divorce.
have you been with your wife?
Ever since God was a little boy.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see, Eve and I met in December of 1981.
Oh, you're a
She had
baby.
just turned 17.
Edward, you're a baby.
Yeah.
My
But we've
wife
been
and
married
I
for
had
20.
our first date at Woodstock in 1969.
How old were you then? Oh, you were young. You
I
remember.
was
Woodstock in
19.
'69.
Yeah.
Edward took his
How was-
wife to Costco for
Yeah.
the first meal.
That was our first date.
First date.
Costco. I said, come on,
How
I'm taking
in
you.
character was that?
Oh, I said, I'm taking, man. I am blowing the wad, man. I am taking you the finest. Well, you got to figure out whether she's going to be good enough to spend real money
was
on.
it for lunch?
Yeah, it
For
was
the
for
$1.50
lunch.
That's what I'm saying.
lunch?
Yeah. No. It's for the
No,
free
it's
samples.
the walking around for
Oh,
the free
Yeah,
samples.
because you have to decide whether or not this person's worth it to spend $1.50 next time
That was
at
the
Costco.
test,
for
yes,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you move up to McDonald's and then go from there. Okay, these are doing great. Okay, so we get back. We'll answer this question. We'll go into.
Do you know the answer to that question?
Tell
You
me.
better know
I
that. Was
don't
that when
know.
he was a baseball player?
No, it was
Oh,
basketball.
that was a good.
But he went from
Double-A,
from
yeah.
baseball back to basketball and kept the number that he wore for baseball for the one season. Oh, what was going on? I was having these questions. We had a lot of listeners. I got as many as 45 phone calls
Wow.
for questions. I'm listening to every one of these things. So I go, make these things a little harder for people. You know, a little inundated. Okay. And actually, I'm going to read our promotion. Fun show, huh?
Having fun.
Having fun?
Absolutely.
He's taking notes in case he ever gets,
Oh, yeah.
needs a criminal attorney. And he who acts as his own attorney has
A
fool
fool.
for a client. Same thing with it. He who acts as his own accountant before the IRS.
Needs a defense attorney.
Well, listen, I've been
Or
audited.
will.
Yeah, I've been audited twice, and I purposely, even though I'm an expert in that area, didn't want to represent myself. Because when I'm representing somebody else, my emotions aren't involved. I don't care, it's your money, not mine. But when it's my money, it's like, because when I've had clients where I've talked to them about representing them before the IRS, they say, well, why can't I just go out myself? I said, well, let me give you an example of the sort of things that happen. You may say something like, well, I've done it this way for the last 10 years, and you guys never said anything. Oh, really?
Well, yes.
Say stuff like that. Okay.
I never got caught doing this before.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the old favorite line, have you stopped beating your wife? No. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
How do you answer that one?
That's the perfect cross-examination.
Isn't that?
question.
Excuse me. Okay. Away we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my co-host Robert Schiff, and we're in the studio here with our favorite criminal defense attorney. You're a defense attorney, right?
Only.
Only. I was going to say, if you're an attorney, otherwise you'd be a prosecutor. Okay. And David Vogelstein. And here's our second trivia question. Now, we all know Michael Jordan wore number 23, but what other number did he wear for a season? Anybody?
No.
Number 45. Go back and look that up on Google. Check me out. And before we get into email time, we're going to have next week another special contest where the winner is going to receive a beautiful 3-day, 2-night stay at the Napa Valley Lodge, which is located in the heart of Napa Valley in the charming town of Yountville. And the Napa Valley Lodge is just steps away from the world-renowned restaurants, specialty shops, and award-winning wine tasting rooms. The lodge welcomes you with a friendly and experienced staff that are committed to making your stay as special as possible. The guest rooms feature private verandas, many with courtyard, garden, or vineyard views, vaulted ceilings, and fireplaces. Man, I'm gonna get my wife there tomorrow. Okay, hotel amenities include complimentary champagne continental breakfast buffet, swimming pool, whirlpool spa, bocce ball court, poolside fire pit, spa treatment room, and fitness room. You can call them at 707-944-2468 or go to napavalley.lodge.com. Now, back to our show here. Robert, we received an email for you, which is kind of apropos because we have an attorney with us. So here's the question. Why are the banks making me verify every little thing, such as deposit, on my bank statement?
Oh, they certainly are. In fact, one of the agents in my office last week put out an email to everybody and said, I'm returning my license to do loans, and I have a new job, which is verifying deposits on bank statements for people.
Yeah, how
And,
much can they do
everybody else
that?
in the office asked him how much he charged and could he do it for
Yeah.
them, because it's very frustrating. But the banks now just it's overkill to all the things that went on in the no qualifier loans, and they're wanting everything verified now, everything they can imagine, so that they can ask for. I've had clients with hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, and they want a $500 deposit verified.
Yeah, there's got to be some minimum that they're asking.
I've never seen it less than $500, but
Yeah.
but it could be as little as $500, and they just all the banks are probably going to sell the loan to Fannie Freddie, and they want to make sure that there's no question that Fannie Freddie's going to look at it and say, you didn't comply with one of our regulations, so we won't buy the mortgage from you. So the underwriting is way overkill. And people have asked me, when will it reach an equilibrium back to where it used to be? And we just see it as staying as tight as it's been, and even monthly, it's getting tighter and tighter, more and more difficult to go through the process.
Yeah, with all the fraud that went on.
And banks are worried about federal oversight, and so the pendulum has swung all the way one way, and it can't go much further, and it'll come back. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, I don't see it. Right now, it's just stuck at where it is, and I see that for the near future at least.
So how do you deal that with your clients? You just start
You just
asking
have to
every question?
work, because it's very frustrating for clients. I mean, I have clients that I've refinanced innumerable times, and now we go do it, and the banks are looking at a rental property much differently than they used to, and suddenly they don't qualify, or just have to prepare them as best you can up front that it's a much different environment. And I know you've refinanced with me or someone else before, but this time it's gonna be a lot more paperwork, a lot more explanations. They do their own, we pull a credit report initially just before they close the loan. They pull another credit report. They pull up addresses that we haven't seen on credit reports of people in years. And people even have to think about what they were, they have to explain as investments.
Well, I had an investment on my tax return that I did some $4,000 investment in an old limited partnership back in 1986, and the income and loss, it's like less than $3, and yet they wanted to see every little aspect of that K1. And it's like, gosh, guys, I mean, there comes a de minimis rule here somewhere.
We hope there does at some point, but it's almost as unreasonable as the don't ask loans that everybody got, the liar loans.
Banks have never existed in the real world when it comes to accountability, so they're having a hard time adjusting and figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And let's see here. I got an offshoot here because it's too depressing talking about these loans. But before we do, actually, no. What kind of rates are you looking at now?
The rates are. I've been in the mortgage business for almost 20 years now, and buying property in the 70s. These rates are as low as they've ever been in my lifetime. A 30-year fix is under 4%. I'll be 3 3/4%. That's with no points. You can get a 15-year loan at about 3%.
Okay. Now, you've been a co-host here for a couple of months, and the sense that I get from you is that you work very, very hard for your clients.
I always have, but now it's a lot harder, and I've dedicated most of my business as referrals from past clients, but I'm always open to new clients.
Okay. And how do people get a hold of you?
They can call me at 415-515-1941. They can go check out RPM's website. We're a huge privately owned bank, and a lot of information on our website that they can check out.
And in the fourth segment, we're going to talk about Chase and what's going on with the $2 billion. Did you happen to find the extra $2 billion that they lost?
It wasn't in my trust account.
It wasn't in your trust account. Yeah, it only took them 6 weeks.
It wasn't
to
in
lose
my
that.
trust account today.
Today.
I'm not talking about yesterday.
Yeah. That's right. Now, who would you hire if you got in trouble?
I have one name and one name only.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
would be, and I'll tell you that later.
Yeah. Okay, here's just kind of a couple of funny things here. Question, should I have a baby after 35? The answer, no, 35 children is enough. Okay, and in 2 months, okay, I'm 2 months pregnant now. When will my baby move? With any luck, right after he finishes college. And let's see, what is the most reliable method to determine a baby's sex? Childbirth. Let's see, my wife is 5 months pregnant and so moody that sometimes she's borderline irrational. So what's your question? That's a little scary there. Let's see, my childbirth instructor says it's not pain I'll feel during labor, but pressure. Is she right? Yes, in the same way that a tornado might be called an air current. Okay, when is the best time to get an epidural? Right after you find out you're pregnant. Let's see here. Is there any reason I have to be in the delivery room while my wife is in labor? And the answer is not unless the word alimony means anything to you. Let's see, any way to avoid while recovering from childbirth? Yes, pregnancy. Okay. Let's see, do I have to have a baby shower? Not if you change the baby's diaper very quickly. Okay, and with that fun stuff, we're going to cut to our third and final trivia question. This very well-known soccer player wears number 23. Who is he? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. By the way, it's not Kayla. I think you wore it for 10, and that was many years ago. We're going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. This very well-known current soccer player wears number 23. Who is he? Make sure to include your name, your email address, and remember, please, to speak slowly and spell out your information 1 letter at a time. And we will be right back. Good.
It's probably not Brandon Chastain.
Pardon? It's not Brandy Chastain, no.
Well, she was the one who.
Yeah.
Okay, because everybody
Over
knows Mia
exuberant,
Hamm. It's not Mia
yeah.
Hamm, it was Brandon.
So,
That's
I have a question for your listeners.
Okay.
So what happens if Robert writes a $100 million loan and is so happy he goes out, celebrates, drinks up a storm, drives home, gets popped for DUI? What happens to his license, his mortgage broker's license?
I don't think it's effective. I'm sure they're.
They're moral
Licensing
purgatory.
questions are a major
Yeah.
thing that I am dealing with in the representation of professionals,
Yeah.
attorneys, doctors. Amp it up 1 level, so it's a misdemeanor, but it's a domestic violence case, a push or a shove with no injury, right? What do you think happens to a doctor or a lawyer? Is there consequences? Are there experts who deal with that? There are.
And even my
Experts.
insurance license, they can take my
Right, any
insurance license away.
state license
Yeah.
is
And ours is
subject.
ours is a federal license.
Right, and you require what, the U4?
No, that's securities.
No.
Is that only securities?
No,
Because
just
the
residential.
U4s that are NASDAQ, kind of licenses, they require mandatory reporting. You have a duty to keep reporting the status of an arrest, the status of the case. In some cases, you don't have to report till after it's over, so if you win the case, you never have to report. Now, true with some of the federal licenses. It's synergistic, it's alive.
I would imagine that a DUI would not be prohibited.
No, because if it was, half the mortgage brokers in the state would be
Yeah.
unlicensed.
Yes, yeah.
And
You're
bankers.
illegally referring their past clients to someone
Right,
else.
well, what about number 2? Or number 3? They're all misdemeanors. Absent injury, they're misdemeanors.
Aren't
What
the
happens?
penalties more severe?
Their penalties are more severe, but
It's still misdemeanor.
you can live with penalties. In Marin, the question is, when does a jail sentence not mean jail? And the answer is most of the time.
The honor
Just
farm.
have tough ankles?
No, there's no honor farm.
Ankle
Did they get rid of the honor
bracelets?
farm? I know someone who used to do
Edward,
that.
where have you been? You haven't been to the honor farm, obviously. You haven't been arrested.
No. I used to play at
Obviously.
McGinnis. I used to play ball at McGinnis, and they had the honor farm
Right,
there.
that's where it was 15 years ago.
Listen, last time I played ball, the ball was square. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
Okay. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Well, we're just cooking along here. Okay, so let me get into those interesting questions from listeners here. We got 12 and a half minutes to go, and I've got my last thoughts for the day. It'll take me about 2 minutes, and so when I'll wrap this up, and then we'll be done.
I'm gonna change tapes, Edward,
Oh, okay.
real quick. So if you go out to the honor farm now, it's
what is it?
detox.
It's houses.
Detox
And there's a
center, isn't it?
detox center there
Yeah.
too.
At the same place?
We'll
Yeah.
send Edward there.
Yeah.
You mean Perry set up?
Yeah, did Perry set that one up?
No.
No.
Harry,
It's,
my suite, he owns my suite.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he sold Bayside.
That's right, sold Bayside.
But he still has a lease back on the property.
He's smart.
He's smart.
He's so
He's
smart.
stupid smart. Because he keeps buying these fancy cars, and then he bought, this year he bought a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. He cracked them, or minorly, both of them, and then decided, I don't want these cars, and then traded them in for like nothing. I mean, only a guy with too much money and not enough life does that stuff.
What has he got, about 100 million at this point?
Huh? I have no idea.
Yeah, he's wondering, yeah.
I have no idea.
So, you having fun, Miriam?
Yeah.
Good.
It's interesting.
Now, if we were in San Francisco, it'd be be a glass wall like that, and the person who's doing what I'm doing would be there.
Oh, in
and
the
like,
studio?
Yeah, just concentrate on this, and we'd have call-in questions.
And where would we be sitting? In the separate room?
No, it's a really cool table. It's kind of shaped sort of interesting. I'd still be here with a board, but I don't really touch it.
Is that the studio for the radio station?
Fox News, yeah.
It's Fox News?
Well, they changed it
It's
to
Fox
KK.
News.
Am I allowed to
now
say,
it's that.
don't tape, it's fascist news network?
Well, it's not Fox News anymore, it's KKSF.
Oh.
And what happened is all the guys from 810,
Yeah.
what's his
Exited.
name? Glenn Tillum.
Until,
Why are you calling a lawyer?
Yeah.
They all got fired one day from 810, and
That's right.
910 took them all on. So 910 Fox News Network has all these liberal guys on the air. So
Yeah,
I don't
Alan
know
Collins.
what happened.
Yeah.
A brain meltdown at Fox.
Well, no, it.
Oh, we
well,
didn't, you know,
yeah,
so there
no,
must have
they're-
been some
they're doing
change,
well.
because I've listened to some of the talk shows, and they have, you know,
Yeah,
the
Alan Collins.
guys calling in, listen, are furious because the guy having the show is a liberal, and the guys
Mhm.
calling in and say, how can you see it that way? It should be like, Reagan was
But-
right, you're not.
But it makes for good radio. It's
It
all
makes for good,
entertainment.
yeah, right, it's that antagonistic conflict
Yeah,
that gets
absolutely, yeah.
people's
Yeah.
ire up.
That's it. Yeah. In fact, the studio was made for Michael Savage, and he walked in one day and goes, "Too small," and he walked out. And they're like, "Oh, thank you, Michael," because it's a beautiful studio. It's, you know,
Really?
oh, it's great. Love that studio.
Michael Savage used to be another liberal commie, like me.
He was liberal.
Oh, yeah, back in the day,
Yeah.
he's, I think my age,
He
he's
is,
about
yeah.
60,
Yeah.
61,
Yeah.
right? Oh, yeah, yeah, there's nothing worse than a liberal who's flipped.
Reagan.
What?
Reagan.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Here we go. And away, as Jackie Gleason would say, and away we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Robert Schitt and our special guest, David Vogelstein. When we cut to the third and final trivia question, commercial break, we asked this trivia question. This very well-known soccer player wears number 23. Who is he? Anybody?
Messi?
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 Yeah.
I don't know who Messi is.
Soccer player?
No, never heard of him. I thought you meant like Messier, the hockey player. No.
No.
David Beckham.
Oh.
David Beckham. I figured you're gonna have some.
Who?
Who's that?
Oh, come on. Victoria Beckham. I know. There. Yeah, the eyes lined up because I know you know her. David, you had a question for our audience.
Yes, for the listeners, so, Robert, right next to me, is, just closed a $100 million mortgage deal. His commission is humongous. He's set to retire. He goes out and celebrates and gets arrested for a DUI. And it's his second one within 10 years.
Here's the question: does the client have to pay for it?
Oh, yeah, big time. And so the question is, forgetting about what happens to him in a criminal case, what happens to his mortgage broker's license? Is it affected in any way? Those are issues that we are dealing with more and more. Because of the transparency of criminal cases, more and more licensing agencies within the state are taking action against people who are suffering criminal convictions, even of a misdemeanor nature, doctors,
So are
lawyers.
you representing the person who got in trouble with the licensing agency and are trying to get their license back, or where do you come in?
Well, what I would do is, if Robert came to me, hat in hand, a big check in hand, and
First thing, check.
Oh, you'd take that check.
And I would take that check and tell him how lucky he is that he didn't hurt anybody, including himself. And then I would, before I took another step, go to the experts in the field of license representation. There are several great lawyers who know how to represent people before the boards, know what the boards are looking for in terms of rehabilitation and remorse, because that's very different than what happens in the criminal case. So in those situations, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
So
I know last year, the federal government started a program where all mortgage brokers and have to be licensed nationally. And the reason they were doing that is that some people who had scammed their way through mortgages successfully for years in certain states and were caught, just dissolved, and lo and behold, were operating under a license in a different state. The federal government
Oh, yeah,
decided
they just open
that
up
they
shop, a
need
boiler room somewhere else.
Yeah, so now there's a national listing service that you have to be approved with, and they
but
I
the
think
age-
successfully preventing them from doing that, but.
They gotta be in jail,
Like,
because
yeah.
guys like that, they just don't seem to get
Absolutely.
rehabilitated. All that happens is they just open up shop somewhere else. The AG
Well,
has to keep
now
fighting them.
it's supposedly, and I think realistically, a lot harder to do that because the national licensing service really does check it out.
No, I know, but people you can do whatever you want. It's just a matter of whether you get caught.
Like we say, that the criminal mind will
Yeah, exactly.
find a way to do it
That's right.
illegally, even though they might be able to do it successfully legally.
The sale of improper mortgages, misrepresentation, the sale of unregistered securities,
Yeah.
dipping into your client's funds, conducting Ponzi schemes, these are things that will happen in state number one. The people will get sued. Before the criminal investigation starts, they'll move to another state and start the same thing in
Exactly.
another state.
Don't you think that certainly for the 2005 to 2008, when there was the bubble in real estate and there was the abuses and all kinds of Ponzi schemes and financial shenanigans, that's not happening as much as it did?
Well, the reason it's not happening is because of the price of the product, that is, the
Yeah.
price of real estate. Ponzi schemes only work and remain undiscovered when the prices go up.
Well, it could
because
switch to the price of gold, which has tripled in the last few years, or some other instrument, or.
Right, and I do think it's happening less now. I think that the notion that you're going to go to prison maybe for the rest of your life, and the public is fed up with this kind of crime because they realize how it impacts the minor investor. I do think there is an impact there, but to me, the most compelling reason that it doesn't continue to occur is that it's hard to do a Ponzi scheme when you don't know what the price of real estate is, because it's based upon the most recent sale of a product that goes up in value so that you can reap your profits and pay off the first investors while you're taking money through the process.
Yes.
Sounds like you've done this before, David. You're so well versed in it. I'm just kidding you. I've always
I
teased
plead the
David.
fifth.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Before we get into our thoughts for the day, $2 billion, Mr. Chase. What's going on there? They
Well,
just made a
that was
little
just,
error,
that was
clerical
ju-
error.
that was just the first quarter of the year. I'm sure they'll do much better. Or
That's for
not
6
as
weeks.
bad.
Apparently it happened in 6
And-
weeks.
And they said it was just incorrect behavior and bad timing, and they're sure to correct their mistakes quickly.
So if your 4-year-old child came to you and said, I misplaced my $3, and this is the 5th or 6th time that it's happened, there would be some punishment or some consequence so the kid could learn how to take care of his money. And that's one of the problems with the banks. They are treated specially, so they have come to believe that they are entitled to special
Well,
treatment.
by the
Well,
way,
and the
and-
legal ramifications say that they are the way. Apparently, the $2 billion was because they were dealing in credit default swaps. Now, we probably heard that term before, and it didn't do very well for the general public and the general economy.
Well, it actually
They're-
did well for me as a borrower because I got my lower interest rate. But
That's-
let me clarify one part of your 4-year-old situation, right, with your daughter. The daughter says, "Gee, Daddy, I lost your $3, not my own."
Much more accurate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Okay, here's a thought for today here. I usually have thoughts, but this one was one big thought. Make sure, and I see you at the gym a lot, so you probably have seen me do this, okay? Make sure that you check your iPod for sabotage. I had another mishap. You know, I like to sing to my iPod music when I'm at the gym. So here I was on push-up number 603. Oh, okay, all right, maybe it was number 3, but you get the point. And I was just getting in the groove after listening to Led Zeppelin's Black Dog, and on comes I Feel Pretty from West Side Story. Remember? I feel pretty, oh so pretty, I feel pretty, witty and wild. Okay, I don't even know how that got on my iPod.
Sure.
Yeah, I almost got beat up by a 12-year-old boy. You know, the only thing worse would have been I enjoy being a girl from Flower Drum Song.
Hey, it's San Francisco. We
Yeah, you-
accept you.
Thanks. I just have to kind of be careful of the iPod situation. David, any last tidbits before we sign off?
No, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed this show, and thank you so much for having me.
You got to have at least one more fancy story for us.
Okay, so we'll talk about the guy who's driving down 101 North from San Francisco, 2 o'clock in the morning, and his car is weaving across 4 lanes of traffic, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the cops stop them, they shine the flashlight in the car, and they start laughing hysterically because the guy's in the front seat and he's got a passenger, and the passenger is sitting where? Totally naked? Yes, right on top of him.
That's fun. I remember taking a business law class where the question came where it was sort of a domino effect, where okay, this person pushes this person, but then it accidentally does this, and then to that, and next, and the question was, okay, who's responsible for all of this, right? We all just kind of looked at each other and just said, I don't know, Colonel Mustard in the library. It's kind of tough when you. I mean, what happens in a situation where you have a domino effect where one person causes an accident and then
You're looking at proximate cause, who is the major cause, and was there an unanticipated superseding intervening event? So,
Means you're in the legal system.
yeah, so probably what you're looking at is 200 different defendants in a major civil complicated lawsuit. That's what you're looking at, because everybody's going to be suing everybody.
And the insurance companies for each of them and their attorneys.
And
yeah,
there you
because
go.
had this one person not done this one thing, it wouldn't have caused the next issue, which would have caused the
But
next
if they
issue,
bumped into
right?
someone, that person bumped into another car, then the second party is the one that hit the third car, and
Remember, under the law, nothing is black or white. Lawyers deal in possibilities, not probabilities. So if it's possible, there's going to be a lawsuit.
I remember I had to see an attorney once, and he told me to step outside the door and step back in. When I stepped back in, he said, "You're entering the legal system. You've left the world of sanity and reason."
There you go.
That's right. And my last lawyer, or my one lawyer, I've got a lot of lawyer jokes, but what do you have when you have 9 attorneys up to their neck in cement?
Not enough cement.
Not enough cement. Hey, someone just stole my line. Okay, and with
Had
that,
to do it, sorry.
you had to do that. That's a good attorney when you can know all the attorney jokes. All right, with that, tune in next week to the Best of Investing. By then, my black eye will have healed from the 12-year-old boy. We'll be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long. And that's a wrap.
That was a good show.
Oh, good.
Good show.
That was fun.
Wasn't that
I
fun?
was just kind of getting the hang of being a little